doom scrolling, taking drugs, watching porn. All these bad habits stem from the same root cause. You're not addicted to your phone, you're addicted to escaping your life. You think cheap dopamine is the problem. No, it's not. The problem is that you don't have a healthy source of dopamine. So when I was 15 years old, I really was in this cheap dopamine cycle, I would say. I used to watch Netflix, I used to scroll on my phone, on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, all this stuff. Used to eat junk food, also watch porn and all this stuff. I was really in this cheap dopamine cycle. But what I didn't know was that this in itself probably wasn't the problem. The problem just was that I didn't have something else to do at home. Or, of course, I could have done my schoolwork and so on, but nothing that was meaningful to me. And that changed when I started playing the piano, when I thought, yeah, okay, why not just do something at home? Why not just only scroll all day, you know? So I asked my grandfather if I could have his old keyboard to just learn a bit, and then I watched YouTube tutorials and so on, and step by step I got better at playing the piano. But the point is, I had something to do at home, and because I had something to do, I didn't really have the urge to pull out my phone to do all these bad habits. Of course, it didn't go away from one day to the other, but it really changed my life. And then I started going to the gym, doing sports at home at first, and then going to the gym. And this was the next thing that was meaningful to me, that was something productive, a healthy source of dopamine, which brought me away from all this cheap dopamine, like watching Netflix, scrolling, and so on. And that really changed the whole trajectory of my life, I would say, because at first I was just consuming, just scrolling at home, also smoking weed with my friends, just doing all those bad habits to escape my life, basically. And now I had something meaningful for me. Of course, when I was scrolling and so on, there also would be stuff to do, like doing stuff for school and so on. But that wasn't something meaningful to me. So really having something meaningful to do at home or in general changed everything for me. So essentially, there are two ways how to get your dopamine. So dopamine is the thing that gives you motivation to do stuff. And there's, on the one hand, is the healthy way to get dopamine. For example, go to the gym. You have to get a bit motivated to go there. Or the unhealthy way, the cheap way of getting dopamine is, for example, watching TikTok, scrolling and so on, because it's extremely easy, it's passive, and really stimulating. And that's how you get dopamine really fast. It's really easy to get motivated to just sit around and get stimulated, And that's the difference. The one path, the cheap way, it's really easy, but also unhealthy. And the other one is, it's harder, but way, way more healthy. And like I said, what changed everything for me was just getting this one source of healthy dopamine. Now, when I started playing the piano, it was, I think I already decreased my screen time a bit, but it was still in the time where I used to scroll and do all that stuff. And really this one healthy source of dopamine can change everything for you too. At least it did that for me. And I think if it can do that for me, it probably can also do that for you. Of course, there are many variables that go into addiction, social media addiction, phone addiction, whatever. But I think often the addiction in itself, the thing you're addicted to, like for example your phone, is often not really the main problem. But it's your environment, your circumstances. So, for example, if you're healthy if you are playing basketball and doing sports and learning an instrument and live a happy social life, then you're probably not getting that addicted to social media. Then the person that is doing nothing all day, has nothing to do, is living an unhealthy lifestyle, he is way more likely to get addicted to the thing. So the thing of maybe your phone, social media and so on, for some people it's easier to get addicted to than for other people. It's not just the phone is the same amount of addicting to everyone. It's also your circumstances. And there are also studies on that. For example, the Red Park study is really famous. So from the 1940s to 1970s, there was much research on addiction. And a typical experiment was, for example, there was a rat in a cage, in a small empty cage alone. And there were 2 bottles of water. The one was normal water and the other one was water with, I think, opioids or some drug, so something really stimulating for them. And what the researchers found was that the rats always, or not always, but mostly took the drug water. And even to the point where they didn't go to sleep anymore, didn't eat because they always had this stimulation of this drug water and so on. So it was really this end stage addiction. And now the researchers thought, okay, a drug is just addicting. It's just the substance. But then another researcher came into the picture. I will also link the study in the description. And he thought, okay, maybe it's not only the drug. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's the environment they are in. To that point, all those rats were in a small cage, alone by themselves, and of course it was empty. They didn't have anything else to do than drinking the drug water. So the other researcher thought, okay, maybe it's the environment, maybe it's not just the drug. So he built another experiment where he built a rat park. It was the same thing of there being 2 bottles, one with normal water and one with opioid water or some kind of drug. But the environment now was completely different. So it was a really nice cage, I think 200 times larger. I don't know exactly, don't quote me on that, but a way larger cage with other rats. So they had social interaction, I would call it. They had toys and so on, enough room for mating. And just like this rat paradise. And now the researchers found that the rats, of course, they also tried the drug water out, but almost every time they drank the normal water, not the drug water that was really stimulating. And I think it's because they had other sources of dopamine, other healthy sources of pleasure around them. And also the addictions were really rare. So in this empty, depressing cage, all those rats were more or less addicted and really end stage addicted, so often not even eating anymore. And now in this other cage, they don't even get addicted to it. They don't even drink the drug water most of the time. So it was really completely different outcome. And that changed this view of addiction, because until then the researchers thought, okay, the drug is the problem. The drug is the same amount of addicting to everyone. But now the researchers knew, okay, the drug, of course, is one variable, but the environment really counts. If they have other healthy sources of dopamine, other healthy sources of pleasure, a healthy lifestyle in general. And if we really think scientifically, maybe you can't translate the knowledge from this area to us one-to-one. But I think if you just think about it, it makes sense that it's similar with us. So if we have stuff to do, if we have friends, if we go out, have social interaction and have healthy sources of dopamine, like maybe playing an instrument, doing sports and so on, it's way less likely that we get addicted to whatever. I mean, in our modern day, there are so many addicting things like scrolling, drugs like weed or something, or porn. So really, really addicting stuff. But if we just have a healthy lifestyle, healthy environment, like the rats in the park, then it's way less likely that we get addicted. But on the other hand, of course, if you're just in your room all day, not having anything to do, not having friends, not doing anything productive, then of course it's way more likely that you get addicted, because there are those drugs, there are those things like scrolling, which are really easy. It's like the rat in the empty cage. You have a depressing environment and you can just escape it or try to escape it through your drug of choice. So of course it's not really scientific, but I still think that you can translate some of the learnings from this addiction studies on rats to us humans. But what can you do now if you're in a depressing environment and you are currently addicted to all this stuff? There are, of course, a few things you could do. The best thing would probably be just going out, learning something, maybe an instrument, a hobby, something that feels meaningful to you. But I know maybe in this stage, if you're really addicted to all this stuff, it feels hard. It doesn't feel possible to go out and really do something. So of course that would be really good stuff, and if you can do that, do that. So find something meaningful, a hobby or something. But if that's too hard right now, there's still something you can do. It's just the next time when you want to scroll, when you catch yourself pulling out your phone and you want to start scrolling, then just stop for 3 seconds and just ask yourself, okay, what am I trying to escape from? And just shortly sit in this feeling. Maybe it's boredom, maybe it's that you are uncomfortable somehow. And just sit in this feeling and maybe ask yourself, okay, what healthy solution is there to this problem of feeling bored or feeling uncomfortable or something? And that's really the first step. You don't have to scroll forever right now, because it's just not how it works from one day to the other, complete change of lifestyle. Of course it can work, but realistically that's not the way that will work for the most amount of people. I just want you to do this small thing of the next time when you catch yourself wanting to scroll, just ask yourself, what are you trying to escape from? Like I said, you don't have to scroll forever right now. You just have to build a bit of awareness while you are scrolling, a bit of awareness over your behavior while you're using all this stuff. And that's really the start of building a more healthy lifestyle, just getting aware of all these bad habits you're doing and why you're doing them, and then you can work on them. So the main message of this video is that often the drug of your choice, so I'll count scrolling and so on to that the drug of your choice is often not the problem. The problem is that you are trying to escape your life. And having a more healthy life, better lifestyle in general, will make it way less likely that you are scrolling all the time. And that also gives you the satisfaction that you want if you think about stopping to scroll. Because probably if you're scrolling, you know that you feel bad afterwards. But the thing I think you really want is just a healthy lifestyle. And that's what you get through building a healthy lifestyle instead of just trying to stop scrolling. I hope you got my point, and I hope you are asking yourself what you're avoiding the next time you want to scroll. And then I wish you a nice day. Bye.